2 goals in 3 minutes yesterday afternoon gave QPR a first win at Ewood Park since October 1999 at the 11th attempt. And most importantly, it kept the R's within a 3-point touching distance of Huddersfield, who cruised to a comfortable 4-0 home win against Sheffield Wednesday. We have much to discuss, so let's jump straight into it. It's been a pretty remarkable week since our 1-1 draw with Huddersfield last Sunday. A performance which lacked the energy and intent of our second half performance against Millwall the week before. Too many players went missing unfortunately, and despite a heroic last minute goal from Kenny Powell, ensuring that we maintained a 3-point gap to safety rather than a 6-point one, it was pretty hard not to feel dejected leaving Loftus Road after failing to capitalise on a priceless opportunity to trade places with the Terriers. Now clearly Huddersfield Town felt very similarly about their inability to beat us, relieving Darren Moore of his managerial duties the day after, but with it all being quiet on the transfer front at the beginning of the week, it was pretty hard to feel optimistic about where we are headed for the rest of this season. That is until Christian Nauri had other ideas on deadline day on Thursday. By early Thursday afternoon, something occurred that hadn't happened the entire window. We'd actually started to be linked with players, with early names being Malcolm Ebiowe, Alan Campbell and Lucas Anderson. Now at this stage, given our FFP constraints, it felt hard to imagine that this was much more than Twitter talk. But as the day went on, the rumours increased, more names were revealed and the sources started to become more credible. And at 9 PM, it actually happened. We unveiled our second transfer of the window, defensive midfielder Isaac Hayden, who joins on loan from Newcastle United until the end of the season. And as the 11 PM deadline approached, another rumour started to solidify: the loan signing of 20-year-old midfielder Joe Hodge from Wolves. Now that felt hard to imagine given he was on the bench for Wolves in their 4-3 home loss to Man United that very evening, but at 11 PM the tweet went out and it was real. Hodge had travelled straight down after the final whistle to complete the deal at Loftus Road. And just like that, within a day we had tripled our incomings for the month. I've seen some people criticise our fans for getting excited by these signings, which I think is a little bit ridiculous given how thin and poor our squad has been this season. We desperately needed new faces in, untainted by all things QPR so far this season. Players that can bring a fresh energy and fresh ideas to the team. Especially in the middle of the park, because we saw how non-existent our midfield was against Huddersfield last Sunday. And given we expected no incomings at all, you have to tip your cap to Nauri and the club for finding the headroom that I'm really not sure that Lee Hughes would have done. It's also sounding likely that we're going to announce the permanent signing of Lucas Anderson, who we were heavily linked with on deadline day, and whose previous club Allberg terminated his contract that evening, paving a way for a free transfer to QPR in the coming days. I'm going to be putting out individual player profile videos for each of our signings, just like I did for Michael Frey earlier this week, so make sure to keep your eyes peeled for those. Now of course the only thing slightly dampening the deadline day transfer party was Saturday's fixture, Blackburn Rovers away. Blackburn have been in terrible form lately with just 1 win in December and January, and with the loss of rising star and midfield maestro Adam Wharton to Crystal Palace on deadline day, and suggestions of discontent from John Dahl Thomason, who refused to take the pre-match conference on Friday, this was surely going to be the best time for QPR to play them. Not only because they're our bogey team and QPR haven't won there in nearly 25 years, but also because of their thrashing of Wrexham on Monday night in the FA Cup, which seemed like a perfect result to boost their confidence, and a bit of a warning of what top scorer Sami Smodic can do to poor defences. But admittedly, by 2 PM on Saturday, things had started to look brighter, because although 10 of our starting 11 remained the same as last Sunday, bar from Elijah Dixon-Bonner coming in for the suspended Sam Field, all of our new boys were on the bench. A surprise given Hayden hasn't played football since the end of December, and Frey not since the end of last season. But with Smith on the bench alongside them, the difference between our bench compared to last week was like night and day. Now there were plenty of efforts in the first half, with 17 shots between the two sides, but it did of course end goalless. Neither side could capitalise on some good opportunities, with the Blackburn fans very quickly turning on the home side for their sloppiness. Ben Cresceni looked like he'd predictably opened the scoring for Blackburn just 5 minutes in, latching onto a simple through ball into the box not dissimilar to the one that Armstrong would play to Hodge in the second half, cutting the ball past Cook onto his inside for a free shot at the right hand side of the goal, but he couldn't keep his effort on target. Blackburn would have a scattering of other chances, including a shot down the right from Rankin Costello, but within the first half an hour, Chair and Armstrong would both have had 3 or 4 shots each, but just not doing enough to truly test the keeper. Creatively, we looked much better than last week in this first half. We were more stable in the midfield, and we did stay composed at the back. But as we've so often seen this season, that clinical decision making in front of goal was not there. But something needed to change if we were going to take more than a point away from Blackburn. And that's why, despite having some great chances in the early minutes of the second half, including a narrowly wide Steve Cook header from an Ilias Chair cross, and a fantastic opportunity for Sinclair, who squandered a crucial one-on-one with the keeper, Marty's triple substitution on 57 minutes, Smith for Willock, Hodge for Dykes, and Hayden for Elijah Dixon-Bonner was such a masterstroke. We've seen it so many times before, Watford being the most recent example, where we are dominating the efforts, but we hold on too long to make any changes, only for the other team to nick a goal or two and shut us out of the game. Well, this time Marty has learned his lesson, doubling down on our attacking presence, fresh energy from Hodge and Smith, and shoring up the midfield with Hayden, because within 4 minutes of the substitutions, we were a goal up. The move started with a driving run from Steve Cook, who carried the ball into the Blackburn half and shifted the ball out to the wing to Paul Smith. His floating cross didn't threaten, but was gathered at the back post by Kenny Powell, who cut the ball back to Colback on the edge of the box, who then shifted the ball over to Ilias Chair, who had been calling for the ball the whole time. He cuts inside past his marker, as he so often does, but this time he waits to release the ball. And it's a touch of genius because Rankin Costello goes to the floor with his tackle, and this opens up a gap. Chair then rattles off a powerful shot to the bottom left, quite an unusual choice for him, and it smacks the left post, and then rather fortunately pinballs back off of the keeper's back and into the back of the net. The deadlock was finally broken. Admittedly, largely in part to a dose of luck that we've been so sorely missing in the last few weeks, but a well-deserved goal instigated by a player who put an absolute shift in yesterday by all accounts. And one thing I find interesting watching this goal back is the number of players that we have in the box for this move. Even though it was Chair with the shot, you've got Powell and Colback to his left, you've got Armstrong and Smith in front of him, and Hodge and Cannon just waiting on the edge of the box. Clearly this is something that Mark's been working on in training, because we had a much more significant presence in their box in this half. Now, if it wasn't hard enough to believe that we'd taken the lead at Ewood Park, just 3 minutes later we doubled it. This goal started very similarly again to Sinclair's one-on-one at the start of the half. Jack Colback with an excellent block to break down a Blackburn attack inside our own box, followed by a calm ball out to Armstrong on the left flank, who this time opts to hold up the ball and wait for reinforcements. Having spotted a darting run in behind from Joe Hodge, he then plays a brilliant through ball through the defence, splitting the Blackburn backline. Hodge lets the ball do the work, repositions himself round so he can shoot on his right, and calmly slots it past the keeper into the side netting. What a goal on his debut. They say don't fall in love with a lone player, but he's making it pretty hard after scoring just 7 minutes into his time on the pitch. I'd just like to note for perspective here that Hodge, just 7 minutes into wearing that shirt, has half the goal tally of Andre Dazelle, who played 88 matches before his loan out to Birmingham. Hodge did something that Dazelle and so few of our other midfielders actually do, which is he ran into the box. I love everything about this goal, the composure, the celebration, the rumour that Gary O'Neill has sent him out to us on loan for free, the fact that he travelled straight down after that match against United to sign for a club in a relegation scrap. I've also got to say that I'm really pleased that Marty kept Armstrong on the pitch, because just like Millwall and Watford, he missed some great opportunities yesterday. His decision making wasn't there, but then he set up the opening goal with that excellent pass. Cifuentes' continued faith in him is being paid off, and he will undoubtedly have learned even more about his game from yesterday's performance. And Hodge wasn't the only new signing that looked good, because Hayden also offered qualities in the midfield that we have not seen in a long time. Within 30 seconds of being on the pitch, he was asking for the ball. He pivots, he drives, passing accuracy is good, he breaks up play. These all sound like very basic things, of course, but he just already looked a cut above a player like Field, who I have to be honest, might find himself struggling to get back in the team by the time he's served that 2-game suspension. Now, Sam Gallagher, of course, would pull one back on the 73rd minute, himself being offered a dollop of luck just like Chair, when Rankin Costello's shot, blocked by Hayden, bounced off Colback and nestled at Gallagher's feet for him to slot in from a tight angle. But before and after their goal, to my surprise, we defended very well. It's hard to say too much about Frey, who replaced Armstrong in the 77th minute. Some have noted that he did look a little bit slow, but that's not too much of a surprise given he's not played football in nearly 8 months. But he does look to be a real presence in the air, and I'm looking forward to seeing him get up to speed. Begovic chipped in too on his 500th league appearance, pulling off an excellent save when Rankin Costello's blocked shot by Jake Clark-Salter could have easily been deflected into the net, but we saw it out, and the full-time whistle was blown to a rapture of boos from the Blackburn home fans, and surely sheer disbelief from the Rangers faithful of what they had just seen. Now, after last week's disappointment, that might be the most QPR result of all, and nothing could have emphasised the importance of yesterday's win more than Huddersfield's 4-0 home win against Sheffield Wednesday. A result which probably puts into perspective how important that draw was last weekend. And not only that, but Millwall, Swansea, Stoke and Birmingham all losing yesterday means that there are now 6 teams within 5 points of QPR. All teams that will have to play each other over the remaining 16 matches of the season. And it's quite amazing really, because you sprinkle a little bit of quality and experience into this squad, and injuries permitting, we suddenly look a very reasonable team again. We've picked up 7 points in our last 3 matches, and had we won last week and made it 9, I'm convinced we'd all be pretty certain that we're going to stay up. For now, we'll have to try and keep as level-headed as possible, ahead of a very testing home match against Norwich City next Saturday. In the meantime, I'm going to be watching that Hodge goal on repeat. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As I said earlier in the video, I will have player profile videos on Hodge, Hayden and hopefully Anderson if he signs, all coming out next week. So make sure you subscribe and keep an eye out for those. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.